Good morning. This is College Football 134 live on the Covers YouTube channel this Saturday morning. That is Andrew Caley. I am Douglas Farmer. This is our last hefty Saturday slate, so let's enjoy it, especially after we spent last night watching teams fail successfully.
All over and over and over again. What a thrill. I can't believe we're up in time after that 8 overtime thriller. Parker did say, I saw him tweet last night, that we can't give these games 8 overtime monikers or whatever it is. It's 2 overtime plus. Kind of takes away from some of those games we've seen in the past that actually were crazy, like 5 overtime thrillers. But hey, man, I told you, Georgia's a team that is beatable. They looked beatable. They should have lost that game multiple times. If not for some great defensive plays in the fourth quarter there, they lose that game. So
I agree with you. They're beatable. We're not going to dive into that bigger conversation today because we have a big slate to get through. And if we dove into that, we would never discuss some of these games. I will admit, I didn't watch most of that game. While Georgia was failing successfully, I was watching the Timberwolves fail successfully.
How dare you?
And that's what I was referencing earlier. I saw all of the overtimes. I did see all of the overtimes, and I also made it a point to keep an eye on the Iowa-Nebraska score because some things are just sad and chaotic, and Nebraska's abilities or lack thereof in close football games is the definition of sad and chaotic.
They are, oh well. Fade Nebraska.
They are, oh well. Sums up the Nebraska Cornhuskers for you all. We do have a massive slate. We have a pile of Big 12 tiebreakers, a possible playoff play-in in South Carolina's Palmetto Bowl. Farmageddon. Why is it called Farmageddon? That's probably pretty obvious. Bless the Midwestern farmlands. As we charge forward, hop in the live chat. Give us those comments. Like this video and subscribe to the Covers YouTube channel. Then go find College Football 134 on all your podcast platforms and subscribe there as well, because Andrew will confirm we spent this week nailing down our bowl season recording schedule. We will be around all the way through the national championship game on January 20th.
You got it. I can't wait. It's going to be so much fun, right? How many bowls this year? I think we're 40. Is it 44?
I could pull that up. I'm not going to, because instead of discussing bowl games, we're going to discuss today's games.
Okay,
and by today's games, I obviously mean UConn at UMass. No, I'm kidding. I joke. South Carolina at Clemson. Clemson a 2.5-point favorite, total of 49.5. That's the nooner on ESPN. This really has set up to be a possible playoff play-in game, especially for Clemson. Tigers win this, they should almost certainly be in the playoff. South Carolina wins this, you've got to worry about some head-to-head issues with Mississippi and Alabama. The more I look at this, Andrew, the more I look at South Carolina's defensive line. It might be the best single unit in the country. It's up there with Notre Dame's running backs, Ohio State's running backs, Ohio State's entire defense. I don't know if there's an offensive line anywhere that I consider in this conversation. South Carolina's defensive line. Entering the season, I don't know that I believed in any ACC defensive lines, and that's proven true. So that is why I do look at this game. And Carlos Bilbao already asking us, do we take South Carolina over Clemson? I can't get myself there. Have you been able to get yourself to that consideration?
To taking them outright? Like, they're the hottest team in the country that no one's talking about, right? Like, they've won 5 in a row. They've been a great bet all season long, 8-3 ATS. Like
Kansas would like a word.
Yeah. One of the best defensive fronts in the country, obviously. And on top of that, what people aren't talking about on top of that is Clemson's offense has stumbled a bit. 24 points or fewer in 3 straight ACC matchups. Now, we can make the case now that the ACC, Lane Kiffin can go somewhere with his comments because the ACC looks just as good as the SEC does at this point. But one way to attack an aggressive pass rush is by running the football, and I think we could see a heavy dose of Phil Maffa here today. Don't hate over 90.5 rushing yards for him. He's topped 106 times this season. So that's why I can't get there, because I think Clemson can run the football in this one. But like if I was forced to make a play on the money line, I'd prefer the value with South Carolina. That's for sure.
But always an emphasis from us. Don't force a play just because the game is big. And you not forcing that money line, I am in agreement with you. I can't get there. But what I do, South Carolina's defensive line, man. And the ACC has, let's see here, 5 teams in the top 14 of the country in sacks per game. Clemson faced only one of those. Gave up 5 sacks to Pittsburgh 2 weeks ago. South Carolina's defensive line is leaps and bounds better than Pittsburgh. Ranks number 3 in the country in sacks per game, despite facing some pretty stout SEC offensive lines. And I'm of a strong opinion that sacks are an underrated stat. They serve a less dramatic version of turnovers. They stall possessions. They influence field position. It's just not as immediate.
Sorry to interrupt. It's another college football stat, right? Like we talk about defensive line being one of the most important things. This isn't like the NFL where guys have their second play right in their ear set, or maybe they do now, but it's like they don't have the experience as an NFL quarterback getting sacked and getting back to the line and having the same presence of mind to set guys up on the line. These are young kids, and those are tough situations, and sacks are a big deal in college football. I will say, they still, despite that good defensive line, 80th in success rate versus the rush. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I was thinking.
I like your thought there. I like you pointing out that Clemson's offense has kind of fallen off, but this is a game where they might lean on Phil Maffa. I look at Dabo. Dabo should be smart. Maybe take the ball out of Cade Klubnik's hands to bother this pass rush. Yeah. Clemson has protected the ball this year. This pass rush should not create massive mistakes. Only 2 lost fumbles, only 5 interceptions, 7 turnovers total. So if this pass rush is going to stall drives but not necessarily cause massive catastrophes, I have talked myself into the under 49.5, neg 108 at Bet Rivers. Both these defenses are better than the corresponding offense. This South Carolina defensive line should dictate much of the game, even if that shows up largely as Phil Maffa's carries. I see this game slowing down, this playoff play-in getting tense. Like we sometimes see those championship games are tense in the first half before they loosen up. I'm going to take this under 49.5 as a best bet right out of the gates today.
I love it. There we go. Best bet right out of the gate. And I'm still. I might take an alt line on Phil Maffa. That's like maybe 100 yards. Let's see. I pulled it up real quick.
You're gonna need me to vamp while you look that up, aren't you?
No.
I know you better than that.
Rush yards. Phil Maffa 100 plus rushing yards over at Bet365 is.
This is excellent,
plus 125. It is excellent. Plus 125, 100 yards. Oh, let's do it. Phil Maffa, 100 plus rushing yards. Jameson's mad at me because I'm going to bring up his. Don't add it to the graphic. I will make a note later, producer Jameson. You don't have to change the graphic. See, this is why producers and hate content people, because we do things on the fly sometimes.
But if I can get the banner up while you're still talking about it, come on. We're here cooking with gas.
This is a finely tuned operation 14 weeks into the season now. So yeah, Phil Maffa 100
Correction.
plus.
15 weeks into the season.
Yes, because we started early. Yes, exactly. 128 yards versus Virginia Tech, 171 versus Louisville, 108 versus Wake, 154 versus Florida State. Now, obviously, those aren't great defenses. For South Carolina's a little better, but like I said, I think this is the game where they lean on them. So yeah, 100 plus rushing yards, plus 125.
We are off and cooking. Well done. The biggest game of the day, though, all due respect to the Palmetto Bowl, all due respect to UConn and UMass, the biggest game of the day is Texas versus Texas A&M. 7:30 Eastern on ABC, the renewal of the Lone Star Showdown, because we could not come up with a more creative name than that. How did I discover that? I made it up while writing an article to try to break up the article between saying Texas and Texas A&M too often. Went and Googled, and no, that's actually the nickname we have for this. We have glorious ones like Farmageddon, and here we are, the Lone Star Showdown. Anyway, renewing that rivalry with an SEC title berth on the line. Texas a 5-point favorite. I have thoughts on this. I want to hear yours first.
My thoughts haven't really changed. I took the under 48.5 earlier in the week. I think that Texas is going to be able to control this game with their running game. I know Quinn Ewers is sounding like he's a little banged up in here, so maybe even more reason to lean on the run game in this one. And it's just, I know we've been propping up, or at least the SEC has been trying to prop up itself all season long, but Texas looks like one of the legit teams here. And I think they're going to overwhelm A&M when all is said and done. But this is coming down to me to two good defensive teams. The best way to neutralize that crazy stadium, which I think, as we talked about, is only worth 3.5 points and not much more, is long, demoralizing, sustained drives. And that to me plays like an under. So what do you think about it?
I have a similar thought of loud, crazy stadium needing to demoralize that stadium. I often say Steve Sarkisian will call plays early to set up successes late. People
Yes.
like to criticize play callers without, and CFB 25 has only helped people criticizing play callers without realizing quite often you will have a 2nd and 8, and you'll call the play you expect to fail in the first quarter. So that when you have a 2nd and 8 in the fourth quarter, you've set up a precedent and you can catch the defense expecting something that you will have misled them with. Steve Sarkisian loves to do that. But today, he needs to get ahead of this crowd. He needs to silence the 12th man as quickly as possible. I have looked at the Texas first quarter money line. That's neg 160. That's pretty pricey for my wants. I will risk a scoreless first quarter or a tied first quarter and instead take Texas to win the first quarter. Just
That's
half
a fun
point.
one.
Just win the first quarter. That neg 110, I'm getting this at a 50-cent better price than that money line. Obviously, there's risk involved. But the thought process here is Steve Sarkisian knows he needs to dial up something quick to get ahead in this game and try to nullify this raucous crowd.
Yeah, for sure. And then you have that great defense. I think it's one of the more underrated units in this game, and it'll be the toughest test for Marcel Reed at this point. So it'll be interesting to see what Texas A&M can do if they do get down in this matchup. But yeah, don't hate that play at all.
I appreciate it. I like it when you say you don't hate something I've done.
Well, so you're saying Steve Sarkisian's playbook isn't just all goes?
Maybe the first play today is. How great would that be if their first play is just 4 verts?
4 verts, all go, yeah. Little cross.
We also need to discuss Farmageddon. For the uninitiated, Farmageddon is Kansas State versus Iowa State. Fun little wrinkle this year. More so, fun little wrinkle next year. We have back-to-back regular season Farmageddon games because the Week 0 Dublin kickoff next year is Kansas State, Iowa State. That's our export to kick off the 2025 season. Here we are ending it with Big 12 title stakes very much at play. Iowa State, a 2.5-point home favorite. 7:30 Eastern on Fox. I have tried to find a bet here. I can't quite get there. I get Kansas State wrong a lot. It's a newer personal problem than my Wisconsin frustrations, though those were not so frustrating for me yesterday. I do want to note Kansas State, since Lance Leopold showed up there in 2021, 6-5-1 against the spread as an underdog, 5-7 straight up as an underdog. I can't get there, but that is what I have leaned to in this game.
Yeah, I think I don't want to hold it too much against you for not getting Kansas State. I think it's just a Big 12 problem in general this year, right? It's been such a mess. But I think it's irresponsible. Speaking of that, it's irresponsible us to talk about Farmageddon, a big part of this Big 12 mess, and not take the underdog outright to win this game, right? No, so we're going Kansas. Yeah, best bet. We're going Kansas State to win outright. That's plus 110 over at Bet365. This isn't I am now a believer in Avery Johnson because we've talked a lot about him this year. I think he's a really dynamic player, and he still has developing to do as a passer. But I think he'll be able to use his athleticism against a Cyclones defense that somehow, shockingly to me, ranks 105th in success rate against the rush. But for me, we get back to this. It's the defense, right? They rank 10th in success rate. They're solid against both the rush and the pass. Cyclones have been inconsistent running the football, 101st in success rate, so that makes them one-dimensional, not something you really want to do against this Kansas State defense. And most importantly, we'll come back to this time and time again, they have one of the better defensive fronts in the Big 12. I believe they rank 41st in the country in sack rate, but it's the second best in the Big 12.
It's how they beat Colorado.
It's how they beat Colorado. Exactly. This is one of I think this is how they get the job done. I think they make Rocco Becht uncomfortable, and they'll cause a few mistakes, and they get the job done in this one. So give me Kansas State on the money line there.
While we are here discussing the Big 12, we've got 2 comments already on the Big 12 specifically. Carlos Bilbao asking, how about Kansas over Baylor? That's effectively a pick 'em. I'm looking on the odds board right now. Kansas is a 1.5 favorite here, a point underdog there. I can't get myself to this game because I think it could be a subtle letdown spot for Kansas. As well as the Jayhawks have been playing, they just won 3 top 25 upsets in a row. And now they've got a road trip to Waco. That's not as enticing for them. And to me, while Kansas is playing better than Baylor, it could be a letdown spot for the Jayhawks.
Are they playing better than Baylor? Like, is that you can make sure they've got the bigger wins, but Baylor's won like five games in a row.
They just won.
They've won 5 in a row, and they've covered all 5 of those games. They're not winning; they're like winning well, and they've got good quarterback play right now. And that's all I'm going to say because I have a play on this game a little later on.
That is true. I have forgotten that as I brought up that comment. And another Big 12 comment from friend Tyler Krennick. I see his thought process here. BYU Houston kickoff 10:15 Eastern time. The Big 12 title scenarios could be settled. The catch on that thought is Iowa State, Kansas State probably will not be done by then. What did I say here? That's a 7:30 kick. It's fewer than 3 hours beforehand. Now, if that's lopsided, if Iowa State is up, I don't want this. You just bet the Kansas State. If Iowa State is up 28 points at halftime, then we can have this conversation. But I don't know that game's going to be settled. I do have a thought, and I am not doing this yet. I have to put some more thought into it. I think there could be value in a Arizona State plus Houston or an Arizona plus BYU parlay. Because at Arizona State, if Arizona upsets Arizona State, BYU just needs to win. So that Arizona, I'm not advising this, but I'm saying there could be value in combining those two possibilities. If Arizona upsets Arizona State, BYU is going to know, just go win a game. And so that combination could create some value.
Yeah, that's good thought process there. So, but it's going to be crazy today. I don't know. Like what? This has been one of the most unpredictable college football seasons I can remember in a long, long time. So who knows what's going to happen?
Clip that. Remember it. Schedule a tweet for it for next season right about this time because we will say that every year in this lovely sport.
In the Big 12, yeah.
Now, we should hit some rapid-fire work so we can sincerely tell people we discussed more than 3 or 4 games this morning. Are you ready for some maybe kind of rapid-fire?
Maybe, kind of, maybe. Sure, let's do maybe, kind of, maybe.
Alabama as a 10.5-point home favorite against Auburn, to me, has flown under the radar this year. But since it's not in Jordan-Hare, this Iron Bowl won't get weird, correct?
No, of course it's going to get weird. Why wouldn't it get weird? Everything I don't care. I don't care. This Alabama team, just the blueprint is out there to how to beat this Alabama team now, right? We saw it's literally sell out to stop Jalen Milroe from running the football and make him become a primary passer. Like that's it. That's happened in all 3 of their losses. So as not good, not good. This is great content here. As not good as Auburn can be at times, they're not terrible at defense, and I think they have the defensive line to try and slow down Jalen Milroe running the football and force him to be a passer. So I think they can keep this one interesting for a little while. And this line has come down, hasn't it? It opened at like 13.5. So obviously some people are feeling Auburn in this matchup, at least at the bigger number. Yeah, I don't know. I think things could get crazy here. I'm not a believer in Alabama at all.
I am efforting to confirm your line movement. Give me one more moment. I don't know. In the summer, it was up there, but on Sunday, it was only 11 or 11.5.
Okay, 11.5. Sorry.
How dare you?
Apologies.
Let's keep moving. Eastern Michigan, Western Michigan, both 5-6. EMU at Western. Broncos are home touchdown favorites. Who misses a bowl game? Eastern Michigan or Western Michigan?
EMU, no. Yeah, I think Western Michigan's a better football team. So, yeah, let's go Western Michigan.
Same question. Virginia Tech, both 5-6. The Hokies are home touchdown favorites tonight. Who misses a bowl game in your opinion?
Virginia, just because I believe in Kyron Drones.
And I love it because when I run counter to you, I'm throwing a bet down on here because I do not expect Kyron Drones to play. Oh. I am taking the Virginia money line
there you go.
At plus 220 at BetMGM. It's the Commonwealth Cup. These two teams are stumbling to the finish. They are both 5-6 right now. Virginia is 1-5 in its last 6. Virginia Tech is 0-3 in its last 3. But here's the thing. Virginia Tech was favored in 2 of those 3 losses, only a 1-possession underdog in the 3rd, falling short of bookmakers' expectations in all 3 of those games by an average of a touchdown. Well, Virginia was an underdog in 4 of its 5 outright losses, including Those losses. Virginia is falling short of expectations by only a field goal in its last 6 games. The Cavaliers already upset Pitt even as they have stumbled. I see Virginia Tech going to third-string quarterback Pop Watson. Yes, his name is Pop Watson, a former 3-star recruit. Last week he went 12 of 25 for 146 yards, adding an interception at Duke. To me, Virginia Tech is going to have to become a one-dimensional offense. Virginia is better against the rush than the pass. Give me the variance with a third-string quarterback going against a surprisingly competent, frankly, from what we expected, a surprisingly competent Virginia team. Give me the variance at plus 220. And I love it even more knowing I'm going against what your quick reaction was.
Okay. Well, now I've done a quick Twitter search here, and it says he is questionable to play in this game at best. So
I will wager a significant amount of money that Kyron Drones will not play in this game or a bowl game. He will not play another game for Virginia Tech. He will be at a big program playing quarterback. They might pony up. They might.
No, they won't. No. They're not. Oh, if someone else will pony up more. Here's a better rapid fire for you. We can argue about where Kyron Drones plays football next year. Colorado.
We are not discussing
Alabama
2025 just yet. We are not discussing 2025 just yet. Illinois as an 8-point favorite at Northwestern at Wrigley Field today. Of the football teams in Chicago, are these the 2 most competent offenses? Hold on, let me get a quick timestamp on this. 22 minutes, because I want to send that to our Bears-loving assignment editor.
I'm just sad that we don't get one more game. I'm sad. I'm happy it's at Wrigley Field because, yes, the Bears fans can watch some good games in the stadium, or some Cubs fans can watch some good games in the stadium.
Hey, it's closer to Soldier Field than Evanston is, so the Bears fans are more likely to go watch this misery.
I did not know that, so thank you very much, Douglas. But yeah,
did you actually not know that?
I don't know the geographical layout of
Wrigley's in Chicago. Evanston is not.
Okay, well, okay, sure. I've been aware that Northwestern is kind of like suburbia. I don't know. I've never been there, so I don't know. I live in Canada on the East Coast. You couldn't tell me where Dartmouth is, so I don't want to hear it. And yeah. Anyways,
this is why our rapid fire is never rapid.
I know.
We did not plan Todd Clinton's comment here, but it plays into the next piece of rapid fire. North Carolina is a home field goal favorite in Mac Brown's farewell against North Carolina State. Do you see, let's go to Todd's question first. Do the Tar Heels play hard for Mac Brown against North Carolina State in his final game?
No.
That might answer my next question. What went through your head when North Carolina announced Mac was fired this week?
Why wasn't it 5 weeks ago?
Oh, man. On a similar note, now I'm not asking this out of a want to see anyone lose their job. I am just recognizing reality. Some Power 4 coach is going to be unexpectedly fired tomorrow. Do you have a prediction of who it will be?
Oh, that's a really good question. Unexpectedly Power 4?
Somebody right now. I don't know that there's anybody who we can see is on the chopping block, but there are 63 teams in the Power 4 with head coaches right now. One of them is going to get fired.
I'd say Brian Kelly if he loses today, but we talked about how much money they can't get away from in that situation.
That's a $60 million guaranteed paycheck if they fire him.
But that's the one that sticks out of my brain.
My thought is not a firing. I did not read all of Kyle Whittingham's comments last night or this week, but Kyle Whittingham has put it out there, in my opinion, that he might be retiring after the season. There's some smoke on that. And if you remember, I think after the 2021 season, before that Rose Bowl, there was a lot of smoke that Kyle Whittingham, that was going to be his farewell game. And he ended up refinding some passion, and they've had some great success up until this season. But I think he's coming up on it, and that's Jameson just maybe he's not listening. Yes, last night he's hinting. I think Kyle Whittingham might be hinting at some things.
Yeah, I think this one more pour one out for my Utah national.
Oh, I find a way every week. I find a way every week.
I think he came back knowing like his defense would be solid, and he'd have one more run with Cam Rising here, and seeing what he has.
All the same things about next year still.
Cam Rising back for year 13. I just think he sees the writing on the wall at this point, and it's time for him to either
Patrick
retire or
Fleming
go somewhere else.
Patrick Fleming might have a good one. Purdue head coach Ryan Walters. Yes, Purdue's real bad, but this is only his second, maybe third season. That one's possible. I can see that one being possible. Carlos is positing Lane Kiffin. I don't see Lane getting fired. Lane might go find some work elsewhere.
He's just gonna stew in Oxford all off season. Like, he thought he had the world at his fingertips, and now you got 3 losses, and you're probably not in the college football playoff. And we talked about that, right? Like, we talked about how he may have peaked in this job situation, right? Like, you expect him to maybe go somewhere else.
Well, he's been trying to go somewhere else for years. He thought he had a chance with the Alabama job. He thought he had a chance at the Florida job. Lane Kiffin wants out of Oxford, but nobody. Let's call Mississippi a tier 2 program. Like, very good, but like, not a true blue blood.
Yeah,
none of the blue bloods want to put up with Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if Nick Saban went to Alabama's AD and was just like, just don't do it. Just, no matter what, even though I'm good, just don't do it.
One more comment on these topics. Tyler asked, didn't Mac Brown try to quit? Yeah, that was the James Madison game when they gave up 70 points, including 50 in the first half.
He quit at half.
We're still not sure what he said in that locker room, but it was something to the extent of, this is my fault, I'm the problem. And the team was like, no, I mean, it is your fault, but no.
Yeah, it's been a tough year. So if he's gone and doesn't coach, then we're down to just what? Kirby Smart is the only national championship head coach in college football.
Excuse you, sir. Dabo Swinney, South Carolina today.
Sorry. Dabo slips my mind too often.
And to grab one more comment, I'm pretty sure Mike Gundy thinks he's won a national championship at some point in his mind. Patrick, Mike Gundy leaving Oklahoma State is possible. That would not be a firing. That would be Mike Gundy's decision. But that one, man, they started 3-0 in the top 15 this year. And check the notes, folks. They're now 3-9, 0-9 in Big 12 play. That one seems, man, we should not spend the show discussing Oklahoma State. That will become a long and winding conversation.
Ugly.
But keep those comments coming. We will come back to more of those in a little bit. Andrew, we don't have a lot of Tuesday line value to pat ourselves on the back, partly because somebody, and by somebody I mean you, has already gone 2-0 this week, 6-0 in your last Tuesday plays, with 3 of them pending. Now, one of your 3 pending did go against you. Syracuse +11 is now +11.5 against Miami, just like my Ohio State. Neg 20.5 has moved to neg 20 against me. I remain baffled by this Western Kentucky line. Western Kentucky is now a 1-point underdog, despite yesterday's Sam Houston State victory, which literally does matter in this conversation. Because Sam Houston State won, West Kentucky needs to win, and we'll get a rematch with Jacksonville State next week. Jacksonville State's not going to – I could spend all show on how baffled I am with this game. I should not. I should bring myself back in. That Tuesday show all season has been our strength. Saturday has been our entertainment. Before
we jump into this, if you're so confident – what's the outline we can bet Western Kentucky at?
1 possession. Whether you want to call that
2.5,
3.5, or 6.5. That's a matter of risk preference. 1 possession needs to be the number. It's going to be a game where Jacksonville State tries to sit on the ball and just run the ball, which Jacksonville State runs the ball anyway. But West Kentucky has to go all out for this game. West Kentucky knows that. Jacksonville State's not going to play anything but vanilla defense. Jacksonville State's going to just try to shorten this game, be healthy, and win next week. So to me, it's 1 possession. 2.5, 3.5, 6.5. That's your personal preference.
Well, look at you. I like that. Let's see what I hear. Let me find. I'm going to find it right here. Minus 6.5 is plus 175. I might go make the little sprinkle on that as we speak right now.
That Tuesday show is our strength. Saturday is our entertainment. But, folks, like I said earlier, we are going to record all through bowl season. Woo! It won't always be Tuesdays. So my advice for you is like and subscribe to this Covers YouTube channel, because more of our shows are going to land on YouTube during this month. And also, go find College Football 134 on all your podcast platforms, so you know when those bowl season episodes, those playoff previews, those playoff reactions all hit the feed. There is always value to be had the quicker you listen to those shows.
100%. Yeah, go like, subscribe, please. Your support has been awesome this year, so let's keep it up all through bowl season.
Now, would you like to find some more value today?
You mean after my Darian Mensah hit and after my Georgia Tech hit from last night? Yeah.
Look, like I said, you're 6-0 on your
Look at
last 6 Tuesday
Look
plays.
at
You've got
your.
3 more
I'm
today.
looking at the comments here. Your little written in our spreadsheet here. You're welcome for the Mensa one. We were just talking about. You didn't suggest me. I would literally came out and said I love Darian Mensa, even though
I
they lose
bought
the
you
game.
time while you went and researched. I discussed that Tulane head coach John Summerall may or may not already be in consideration for the North Carolina job. I'm going to take a little bit of credit for that one.
Okay. You can have a little, but not a lot. Anyway,
Lead us off today.
Okay, today, we talked about this a little bit on Tuesday. We were talking about Florida and Florida State, and we were speaking a little bit like, why don't we have a bet on this game? Because, well, now I do. I'm going Florida State, or not, sorry, Florida, the Gators, team total over 31.5. You can get that at even money over at FanDuel. Pretty simple to me. Florida State is down bad right now. They've had 2-9. Lone FBS win this year, all the way back against Cal on September 21st. Like, that was their last FBS win. Offense is a disaster, but the defense is now actually starting to catch up to the offense as well. Surrendered 35 points or more in 4 of their last 6 games against FBS opponents, and the Seminoles rank 116th in opponent yards per play over the last 3 games. They're still getting killed by explosive plays as well. 87th in EPA per rush, 107th in EPA per dropback. Gators running back by committee ranks 24th in EPA per rush, and DJ Lagway is averaging 11.3 yards per attempt. So they can take advantage of that, I would say. But most importantly, this is just a let's just show you what's up kind of game for Billy Napier. This team, shockingly, we were talking about him being out the door as soon as they lost that game to Miami to start the season. And you know what? They played a little better. And then the Florida AD comes out and says, hey, Billy Napier is going to be here next year. And the team responded by upsetting LSU and Mississippi in back-to-back weeks. So they're feeling themselves right now. And what their next goal is to just crush Florida State. They want to tell all the recruits in the state that, hey, this is the Florida team on the rise. Billy Napier is going to run up the score in this one. So give me over 31.5 points for the Gators in this one.
I was going to play nice today. I was not going to trot out our favorite visual aid. But then producer Jameson showed off his typing skills by calling us a I'm not even trying to pronounce that pronunciation. Now, he got it right. He corrected. But producer Jameson, you cannot give me these excuses when I have Gator Western Kentucky Jameson always on hand, ready to show the world that this is how much we adore and love producer Jameson and appreciate. We are thankful for his help all season, and this is our means of showing it.
We love you, producer Jameson. Thank you very much for your help this season.
He's gonna shoot me. I should follow up with a bet, and I actually have 2. I'm going to go back to back here, which is a rarity for us. I'm going to go back to back because they are very much intertwined. I'm debating which one I'm going to say first. I'm going to say the pricey one first. Jeremiah Love, an anytime touchdown today at USC, is at neg 230 at FanDuel. Folks, okay. Jeremiah Love has scored at least once in every single game this season. He has tied a Notre Dame record by rushing for a touchdown in 11 straight games. Would Notre Dame's coaching staff emphasize that record at the expense of the game? No. Would Notre Dame's coaching staff hand the ball to their best player to break a record? Yes. That record has stood for 51 years. He is going to cross the goal line today, especially against a lackluster USC defensive front. So I'm paying a premium, neg 230. This is 11 for 11 this season. Today should make it 12 for 12. Now, I mentioned a lackluster USC defensive front. It has always been a bit of a worry for Lincoln Riley. And that rush defense, call it middling. It's number 53 in EPA this season. Notre Dame has maybe the best rushing attack in the country, number 3 in terms of EPA. It's number 3 in the country with 37 rushing touchdowns this season, tied with Army and only 1 score behind Boise State and Ashton Jeanty. Yesterday's numbers not included. For context, the Irish have just 17 passing touchdowns this year compared to those 37 rushing touchdowns. These are all Irish strengths. They are all USC weaknesses, which is why I'm going to take Notre Dame by a full touchdown at USC, neg 110 at Bet Rivers. I think Notre Dame's rushing attack is going to dictate this game. And for the third time in the last 13 years, Notre Dame will seal a postseason berth by winning at USC. I'm getting that at -7 today. In 2012, Notre Dame clinched a title game appearance by beating USC on the road 22-13. In 2018, Notre Dame clinched a playoff appearance by beating USC on the road 24-17. Today will make it 3 times in 13 years that Notre Dame has gone to USC and capped a delightful season.
Boosters will love that one. They'll love when you can say, "Oh, we got that playoff by beating USC." And I don't hate this as well. Obviously, from Tuesday I was on the USC team total under 21.5. So I think if they're dictating the game with running the football, that limits the possessions for an already questionable USC offense with Jalen Maeva. I think that's how we're going to pronounce his name. So who struggled against a UCLA defense, which is not very good. So I'm a big believer in the Notre Dame defense. So I'm with you on those ones.
Excellent, excellent. You've got a player prop coming up for us. We are cooking with Gay. We are really moving along today.
We are. We're going back to the well with my boy Sawyer Robinson, Baylor Bears quarterback, over 216.5 passing yards. He's averaging 250 yards per game since he became the starter back against Air Force. He's gone over this number in 7 of those 9 starts. And I think, like everyone's talking, we said it a little bit ago, everyone's talking about Kansas playing really well, but they're kind of not forgetting about Baylor at the same time. Winners of 5 in a row. They've covered the spread in 5 straight games. Obviously, they haven't beaten the same teams that Kansas has beaten, but they are feeling good about themselves. And the thing here is, yeah, they're playing well, but you can still, the Jayhawks, but you can still pick apart this defense. 95th in success rate, 89th on dropbacks. Shedeur Sanders went over this number pretty handily against them. Rocco Beck cruised over this number. And even Avery Johnson, who we've talked about a few times that I'm not really a believer in as a passer, he went over this number as well. I think this is going to be a tight game. And Baylor has really balanced their offense out a lot more with Robertson under center. And I just think this line's probably about 20 yards too low.
20 yards too low. Okay, that is an amount of confidence by you. I will always endorse amounts of confidence. I am realizing I forgot to put a banner in for my next bet, so I'm going to just acknowledge that while I quickly create it.
That's fine.
It's a little not always the same format, but I am aggressive today, not because I'm chasing value, but because I believe there's variance in Week 14. I want to emphasize, folks, we're not chasing losses. Week 4, Black Friday is not getting the Black Friday, as some call it. You need to be smart with your bets, but there is variance. Like I said, that Virginia Tech situation, third-string quarterback, I think there's a psychological toll in that locker room when you're down to your third-string quarterback. It's the last game of the year. They're not going to be as out there. I see an opportunity elsewhere, and on the East Coast, where I'm getting another 2-1 underdog, UTSA plus 210 at Army. This is a combination spot for me. UTSA is 4-1 against the spread in its last 5. I believe it was. I know it was a Tuesday about a month ago where Parker was on the show and he felt guilty for betting against UTSA because we so adored them for so long. Well, UTSA rallied since then. 4-1 against the spread in its last 5. Beat Memphis as a touchdown underdog to start November. Exceeding expectations by 8.1 points per game, including that ATS loss, to really emphasize how much they're exceeding expectations. 8.1 is enough to get me to this money line when they're 6.5-point underdogs. Now, I'll take that money line. This is a letdown spot for Army coming off that one-sided loss to Notre Dame last week. Playoff hopes now dead. This is a look-ahead spot for Army. AAC title game next week against Tulane. This is a look-ahead spot for Army. Navy in 2 weeks. So I've got 2 look-aheads, 1 letdown on Army, and I've got UTSA cooking with gas these days. Give me that plus 210. Give me the value. Give me the variance.
Are Army's playoff hopes actually dead?
Yes.
We can't talk about what we've talked about every team being dead at some point, and I just don't. If they win the AAC with a 10-1 record, like
they're not jumping a Big 12 winner. They're not jumping.
Why not?
Boise
The Big
State
12 sucks.
But that is your opinion that you're entitled to. But the only facts that matter is the committee rankings, and there are 4 teams in the top 21 or 4 teams in the top 20 of the Big 12. One of them is going to win the Big 12.
Yes, one
as long
team
as we
will
don't end up with
a football team. We can agree on the fact that a football team will win the Big 12. But like Boise,
Army's playoff hopes hinge on Baylor winning the Big 12. Like that's effectively the conversation here. And yes, Baylor still could. That's what we're talking about here. Army needs the 8-leg parlay of Baylor or West Virginia winning the Big 12 for Army to make the
They're
playoffs.
just one spot behind UNLV, and you think what if UNLV gets in now with a win, right? Are we pretty confident if UNLV wins the Mountain West? But
yeah, because they're beating the number 12 team in the country, whereas Army would be beating Tulane, who just got its keister handed to it yesterday by an okay but not great Memphis 2 days ago.
Anyways, I don't know if it's dead, but I don't think it's as much of a letdown spot as that's what I'm trying to. I don't think it's as much of a letdown spot as you are trying to hype it up to be there, Douglas.
Well, hey, anytime you disagree with me, I usually win a bet, so keep it coming.
I'm not going to make a play on this, but I will say that Parker has Army as a 13-point favorite in this game.
I will look forward to letting Parker know that he was wrong as well. I am sticking by my gun.
Love that
UTSA plus 210. What do you got next for us? I believe it is our last bet of the day, but then we have some comments to get to, and we'll see what else they make us think about.
So this will be my last best bet of the regular season. So let's get a little sick with it and head to Pitbull Stadium. Give me the FIU Panthers minus 5.5 in the first half against Middle Tennessee. These teams come in with matching 3-8 records, but they don't match. The product on the field does not. That's the only thing that matches is the records. FIU is still playing hard. They have 5 losses by 1 possession, where I think we've kind of discovered at this point that Derek Mason is not a very good college football head coach and probably shouldn't be running a program at this point. Middle Tennessee is our last edition of They Bad. They rank 132nd out of how many teams, Douglas?
134. College football 134, named for a reason.
132nd in opponent EPA per play and defensive success rate. So just 2 teams worse than them. FIU can actually move the ball through the air a little bit. I expect them to do it here. Like I said, I think FIU hasn't really quit, and I think Middle Tennessee has. Let's go with the Panthers here at Pitbull Stadium at home. They're going to be feeling good. It's
just a gross bet.
It is, but like this is at least this is a program that is building towards something in the CUSA where I don't know where Middle Tennessee's head is at this point. So I think this is not a very close game.
I can understand that thought process. Now, before we get out of here, we have a pile of comments on the bigger picture, and we have one comment saying the only word that matters in deep down in my heart. Emu. Appreciate you, Bobby. Now
Bobby getting yelled at practice.
Yeah, he's coaching some basketball.
His dedication is great. Thank you.
We have a pile of playoff questions. Tyler thinks this is a stupid scenario. It's not as absurd as he makes it out to be. Syracuse, you bet them on Tuesday at plus 11. Now it's plus 11.5. Syracuse upsets Miami today. South Carolina beats Clemson today. Then Clemson beats SMU in the ACC title game. I don't see that causing as much chaos. I think South Carolina and Clemson would just replace SMU and Miami in the rankings. So no, Tyler, to your next question, two group of fives don't get in then because
I love it.
The only way 2 group of 5s get in is if they jump the ACC or they jump the Big 12. Losing to South Carolina is not going to destroy Clemson's ranking.
They're not going to jump the ACC. I think we've seen evidence now that with SMU's ranking that the committee is doing everything they can to prop up the ACC and to give the ACC credit, like they're playing pretty good football. Like these teams are playing pretty well. They've competed against good teams. I think we're trending towards 3 ACC teams in the playoff at this point.
3 ACC teams in the playoff seems a bit aggressive to me. I do think SMU is on the brink. It will be if SMU Miami is a last-second game, sure, but otherwise I think SMU is on the brink.
So if Miami loses today, which I'm saying is very much on the table, because shout out one more time, Mario Cristobal. They can, like, Syracuse is the one team that can throw with them. Like, Syracuse can throw with them. They don't turn over
Kyle
the ball.
McCord will also throw to them.
Yes, that is an option, but he might not. Take away the Pitt game, which is a big takeaway.
Aside from that, Mrs. Lincoln,
he only has 1 interception in his last 5 ACC games overall. So But that was just a messy game. I don't know. I think they're going to be ready in the not called the Carrier Dome today. I think Miami is like, I don't know. Like they're a weird team. All the numbers say they should blow out Syracuse, but I don't believe in them at all. I don't believe that the numbers are reading this team correctly, because when you watch them, they look like a team with a dude who is really good and is propping up that entire team. And yeah, I think there was a scenario where there was only one ACC team in for a while. I think we're almost guaranteed two at this point.
Not if Clemson loses today. Clemson's out. If SMU doesn't play, Miami close. SMU. So we have Carlos asking us a bit ago, which team is getting the short end of the stick? I think SMU is on the brink of that. It's SMU or Mississippi to me, and it's not a short end of the stick if it's Mississippi. Mississippi does not deserve to be in the playoff. You need 12 teams. So Mississippi might end up the 12th. But otherwise, I think SMU is the team that is positioned to lose by 10 or 14 to Miami and get knocked out of the playoff.
I really wanted Georgia to lose that game last night just to give us even a little more insanity. But like, there's another ACC team playing an SEC team really well. Should have won that.
I don't disagree with you, but the committee will.
Yeah, well, they're dumb.
I will make sure I let them know that next time I talk to anybody on the committee. I am not seeing any outstanding comments that we need to tend to. We discussed South Carolina. We discussed everything but UConn, UMass. No, I will not have a play on UConn, UMass. It's UConn. UConn's the play. I think it's 10.5 or 11. Yeah, UConn's the play. I'm not going to delve any further into that. Do you want to recap your week of bets before we get out of here?
Let's do it. Okay, so we've already hit winners on Darien Mensa and Georgia Tech on the first half spread. We still have Texas and Texas A&M under 48.5. I'm on Syracuse plus 11. Like I just random there. I'm not a believer in this Miami team. I do believe in Cam Ward. He's awesome. USC team total under 21.5. Those are all from Tuesday from today. Kansas State money line plus 110. Big 12 is crazy. Florida team total over 31.5. Billy Napier is going to run up the score against an in-state rival. Get those recruits coming. Sawyer Robinson over 216.5 passing yards. That's the Baylor Bears quarterback. And FIU in our final sicko mode play of the year, minus 5.5 in the first half against Middle Tennessee.
I like most of it. That last one is just so
and Phil Maffa.
Gross.
Thank you.
And Phil Maffa. Thank you. Phil Maffa, let's see. What was that? 100-plus rushing yards at plus 125.
Plus 125 over at Bet365. Thank you.
Before I throw my recap on there, I want to grab one last comment just came in. Dano must have slept in this morning, because if he had been awake right away, he would have heard me figure out the way to play this Texas game. Daniel's a Texas fan. Why will his family be happy? Because Texas is going to score quick and win that first quarter, which is why it is one of my best bets today. I lost Tulane on Thursday, but I have Ohio State by 20.5 today. I have West Kentucky by 1.5 in a Conference USA pseudo play-in game. I have South Carolina Clemson under 49.5. I have that Texas first quarter money line by 0.5 point. At Texas A&M, I'm paying a 50-cent price. I'm getting 50 cents with the risk of that hook. UTSA plus 210 at Army. Notre Dame by a touchdown at USC. Jeremiah Love to break a Notre Dame record of 51 years by scoring a touchdown today at neg 230. And the Virginia money line in the Commonwealth Cup at plus 220. That concludes my slate. I believe that should do it for us, Andrew. Am I missing anything to your knowledge?
Just this last comment from Tyler. Who is the holiday Heisman? He has Mariah Carey minus 150, Santa plus 200, Baby Jesus plus 800, and the field at plus 50. Give me the field, because there's some Christmas movie characters in there that I think are giving us a lot of value, like Sinbad in Jingle All the Way.
Enjoy the Saturday, y'all. College Football 134 is in your podcast feeds and live every Saturday morning. We will be putting out podcasts all of bowl season. So remember, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well as on all your podcast platforms so you get that Tuesday value, because deep down in my heart, I believe the one and only Christmas Heisman is very clearly the Grinch.